For years, fans have speculated about the true nature of J. Cole and Jay-Z's relationship. On the surface, it always felt a little off. At one point, Jay even confronted Cole about lyrics that appeared to be aimed at him, proof that there was tension between them.
I did get a text from Jay at that time where he was like, we helped you, you know what I mean? Or like, yo, we're not like enemies.
It always felt like parts of their story had been lost over the years, so I spent some time digging to understand what really happened. From what I found, it's clear why these two aren't very fond of each other. A lot of what you're about to see and learn you've probably never seen before. When Roc Nation launched, it wasn't designed to be a label for lyricists and underground rappers. Jay-Z had already lived through the Rockefeller era and wanted something different. Roc Nation was meant to be a home for global superstars, but the first artist they signed was J. Cole, an introspective backpack rapper.
So I'm on Roc Nation, ran by Jay-Z. That's his label, and being the first rapper over there, it's a blessing, especially knowing that, I don't even think they were intending to do rap. I think it was just, I think they were just strictly like, man, we're gonna sign a bunch of like Rihanna type pop singers, And I think when he heard me, he changed his mind, like, okay, well, I'll give it a shot.
Jay and the label knew Cole was talented, but they wanted to make sure he could cross over commercially. Cole, on the other hand, wasn't thinking about radio hits. He wanted to craft a classic debut album, something timeless.
And once I signed to Jay, and this nigga was like, nah, you're not putting an album out till you got some fucking hits.
Jay, thinking about the bigger picture, pushed him to learn to make hit records that could live on the charts. These differences in visions what began a 2-year tug-of-war between them.
This is the first time that I ever made a song that was like, yo, I'm about to go play this for Jay-Z. Like, I got it. Yo, I got the one. Like, he gonna love this. Like, this is the one. So he was fucking with it, but it was not the reaction that I wanted.
Cole would bring Jay new songs, only to be told they weren't the right ones. The constant rejection left him frustrated and uncertain.
I don't have a single, and the next 6 months of my life was like literally hell, going through a depression, trying to make it to happiness. It was uninspired music that was trying to be something.
Rumors even began circulating that Jay-Z was angry with him for taking too long to deliver a single, though Cole denied it in interviews.
You took a long time with this project.
Oh, yeah.
And it came out on some blogs that Jay-Z was kind of like,
Oh,
man,
man,
what's the deal? Hurry
y'all
up.
Believe that? That's not true, man.
No, not true?
That's so not true. But,
Okay, explain to the folks.
oh, yeah, I mean, it was a cool rumor, but nah, that's furthest thing from the truth.
All right, cool.
Though he denied it, the truth is Jay was getting impatient. So impatient that he embarrassed him at an industry event in front of his peers. Cole and his manager were chatting with Drake and his team when Jay walked up.
So then Jay walks in, he sees all of us together, he goes, yo! And he looks at Drake, yo, get a boy one. Like, points at Cole, like basically give him a hit. We're like, what?
Embarrassing!
But I do remember being at the dinner after that, and I'm just looking at Cole, and he looks pissed.
He was furious, but Jay didn't stop there. Later that night, he doubled down, again urging Cole to bring him a single.
As I get within like 7 feet of him and he sees me approaching, he looks at me like, just one, give me one, please. He got his hand,
doubles down.
Yo, he got his hands folded.
Eventually, Jermaine couldn't hold his tongue and actually confronted Jay-Z about this.
Yo, let me ask you a question. When you was working on Reasonable Doubt, did you have somebody telling you needed a single? And he was like, nah, I didn't. I'm like, yo, so why you keep doing that to me?
Around the same time, he was saying he couldn't make a certain kind of song because his fans viewed him as the chosen one, the savior of real hip-hop, and Jay-Z's reply was one of the realest things ever said. I've got a graveyard full of chosen ones. His point was simple: talent alone isn't enough. You can't just make good rap songs for your core fans. You need to evolve and reach wider audiences, or you risk becoming irrelevant. In hindsight, Jay was right. Fans often sympathize with Cole's side of the story, the passionate artist who wanted to stay true to his sound. But Jay was trying to teach him how to be more than just a great rapper. He wanted Cole to be a complete artist. Eventually, Cole cracked the code with Workout, a song that finally got the green light. His debut album, The Sideline Story, was ready for release. But just when things seemed to be coming together, another problem would present itself. At his album listening party and later in a Rolling Stone interview, he revealed he was waiting on a Jay-Z feature for a song he had specifically set aside for him. No Jay-Z verse as we sit here and talk, Cole told Rolling Stone. I don't know if he's just messing with me or what, but I've already mentally prepared myself. If it doesn't happen, it's all good.
Working with Jay and everything, is he gonna be present on the album and all that?
Yes.
I be doing songs like the song I just did, I told you I just did. Yeah. I'm like, man, this the one for Jay.
Unfortunately, the verse never came. The album dropped without it, and around this time, more rumors spread that Cole was upset that Jay didn't show up for his debut, though he never admitted it publicly.
And I remember all of those stories. I remember Cole being mad because he, or maybe feeling a way about not being on his whole album. Or I remember the process. Shit, Cole told us about the process. He told us about struggling for a single.
To make things worse, the lead song Workout, the very song Jay had approved, was hated by fans and critics alike.
So I get a release date and we dropped the single. It was the worst response on any song I've ever. You gotta understand that, like, to my fan base, it's like, yo, that's the chosen one. Right. So when they heard that song, it threw them off.
No one forced that on you.
No, exactly. Nobody made, let's get it clear. Nobody made me. Right. When I made that song, it was a triumph. I felt like I beat the game. It was a happy moment for me. Like, yo, watch. So when that happened, I got it. I understood why people did that, but it hurt. It was like, oh, man.
It eventually became a hit, but the backlash stuck with him. When the album dropped, the response was lukewarm. People weren't impressed, and he started to feel like maybe he compromised his vision, trying to please others. This frustration led to songs like Let Nas Down, where he reflects on disappointing his idol and his core audience. But the irony is that before the backlash, Cole had proudly told publications how confident he was in the album.
I'm gonna tell you the truth, I do feel, I'm getting that feeling. But I think what's making it a classic is that I keep setting my standards higher and higher. So like songs that was making the album 7 months ago can no longer make the album because they can't touch the new songs. I mean, I'm getting that feeling, man, but you never know until only the people decide what's classic and only time decides that, so we'll see.
When it didn't land, he started pointing fingers in his music, at his label and at Jay-Z.
When Cold Summer came out, and you know I'm in there, I got all the lines about the label and this, that, and the third. I did get a text from Jay at that time where he was like, we helped you, you know what I mean? Or like, we only ever wanted like what was best for you, you know what I mean? Like, I think you look at us like we're adversaries, like, yo, we're not like enemies to you, you know what I mean? And I feel like my response to him was like, I'm just trying to tell my story. Like,
You try to soften the blow.
I always try to soften it like in the music and not go all the way in, you know what I mean? Like,
I can't get myself to blame Jay-Z for Cole's creative choices. The label wasn't in the studio producing his songs. He wrote and produced most of the album himself. They never forced him to change his sound. They simply wanted a single before releasing it. You can't blame others when your work doesn't hit. And you definitely can't diss your mentor because other rappers and critics weren't messing with your music. When you look at how things played out, Cole's frustration feels misplaced. The truth is, he made an album he believed in. It just didn't connect the way he hoped. Meanwhile, Kendrick dropped Good Kid, Mad City the following year, a project hailed as an instant classic and packed with hits. Drake did the same thing with Take Care. Cole himself recently admitted on his podcast that hearing Good Kid made him realize Kendrick had done exactly what he had failed to do, to balance authenticity and mainstream appeal. As soon as I heard it, I was like, this nigga did exactly what I wanted to do a year ago. It walked the line perfectly between classic content and commercial appeal. Sonically, that shit was phenomenal. It's also important to note that Jay never wanted Cole to stop being himself. On that same podcast, Cole recalled running into Jay unexpectedly and Jay-Z telling him how much he loved Vilmatic, a deep-cut mixtape track. To me, that shows he wasn't trying to change Cole's artistry. He just wanted him to expand it. And eventually, he found the formula.
You know, we take our time and maybe not be most popular with artists, you know, especially new ones that I want to come out tomorrow. I think in the case of J.Cole, I think that A&R development really helped him and worked for him. You know, the album that he put out was an album that he brought in the first time and he thought he was ready, you know. And now, and you look at his career now, he's just, you know, he's gonna be here for as long as he wants to do it.
Born Sinner came close, but 2014 Forest Hills Drive perfected it. A classic album that balanced soul and commercial reach. You didn't hear him complain after that because people finally appreciated the work. He was still playing the game, he just executed on a much higher level. He made the song Let Nas Down, but really the person he let down was Jay-Z. From Jay's perspective, that song probably stung. Considering Jay and Nas had one of the most infamous beef in hip-hop history, Cole writing a song about letting down Jay's former rival could easily be seen as tone-deaf or even ungrateful. For many fans, this moment cemented the idea that Jay had distanced himself. For 3 to 4 years, there were jokes online about how the two hadn't been photographed together because Jay-Z hated J. Cole. Looking back at it, those assumptions weren't entirely wrong. The industry was talking.
What do you think of the speculation? There's always like speculation about your relationship with Jay-Z and, you know, there's no photos of you guys together and like all this crazy shit you hear.
I'm just grateful for the A, for the deal and the opportunity, and B, for the advice and the real rooting for me that the people don't see.
J.Cole has a habit of subtly dissing people and then acting like everything's cool. Recently, he admitted that he actually dissed Kanye on Kanye's own song, all because of how Kanye answered a fan's question about him. During the Dark Fantasy promo run, someone asked Kanye on a live stream when he'd work with Cole.
When are you gonna work with J. Cole?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just looking at this album cover right here, right quick. This exclusive. You know, working with J. Cole. I'm not positive. I'm like really focused on good music right now. But maybe we'll put him on a Good Friday track or something.
Personally, I don't think there was anything wrong with how Ye responded, but Jermaine clearly felt a way about it.
If he would have said like, if it would have been like, yeah, it actually would be fire to put him on a Good
like,
Friday, it would have been a different feeling.
Or like, I'll with him, maybe one day we could do something.
Exactly. But it was like it was that.
Yeah.
It was that tone of like, we might put him on a Good Friday.
A few days later, Kanye kept his word and reached out. And that's when Jermaine took a shot. He used that moment to diss Kanye on that record. And when you look back, this isn't new behavior for him. He's dissed Drake at one point and even did the same with Kendrick. But doing it to Jay-Z, his mentor, was totally crossing the line. Years later, Cole seems to have gained perspective. He now appreciates the lessons Jay taught him.
When I first signed to Jay, I'm like, all I want to do is drop a classic. I didn't care about that shit could have sold 3,000. I was like, man, your first album's supposed to be slept on. And once I signed to Jay, and this nigga was like, nah, you're not putting an album out till you got some fucking hits. So then by the time Force Hill Job came by, I was smacking them bitches out everywhere.
Without that push, he might never have learned how to make songs that could both move people and dominate the charts. No Role Models is 14 times platinum right now, which wouldn't have happened without the training from Roc Nation. He also has now bought back his masters from Jay-Z, and he owns his whole catalog. We love to criticize labels and executives for being predatory or out of touch. In this case, Jay-Z and Roc Nation were right. They saw J. Cole's potential even before he did, pushed him to grow beyond the backpack rapper box, and helped him build a career that balanced substance and success. It just took J. Cole a long time to realize that. And now him and Jay-Z don't have the kind of relationship they could have had if he hadn't gotten in his own way.